Okay. Hello, everyone. And so here we are joining with another lecture session of the Digital Economy and Future of Work lecture series. Hope you are all doing good and hope you are keeping track of the sections that we have taught so far, since it's a new course module to you. Some areas that we have discussed might be new. So we hope you're keeping tab and that you're on track in terms of doing the relevant background researches on what we teach you, as well as that you have your knowledge up to date on these new concepts. Right, so hope you all are ready for this new unit we are about to start. So in unit 5, we hope to talk about new economy business models in the concepts of big data, the sharing economy, and the circular economy. So once again, some of these concepts might be familiar to you, while some might not be. So let's look at what we are going to learn within this lecture. Moving forward, first let's take a look at the learning outcomes a little bit. So at the end of this lecture, you will be able to understand the basic concepts related to the new economy. At the commencement of this lecture series also, we have mentioned that there are differences between the traditional economics that we learned, that we know, and when it comes to the concept of new economy. So we are going to learn a little bit more about certain basic concepts related to the new economy. And also we will be explaining open data concept and business models associated with it, as well as we will understand the assumptions of digital sharing economy business models. Then we hope to describe the relationship that exists between different actors who participate within this sharing economy business model. And also we will be taking time to explain the circular economy and circular business models. So we have a great concern towards the environment when it comes to the present context. So how circular economy comes into effect when we try to balance both the business aspect and the environment or the ecological aspect, right? So we are going to do a little bit of explanation on that. Then we want you all to understand the differences between classical business models, the sustainable business models, and circular business model. The classical business model, as you know, right, has evolved to a sustainable business model, and then towards a circular business model when it comes to the present context. So we are going to see this evolution, how it sort of conceptual understanding as to what constituted as most important during each of these periods where we considered within the circular business, whether within the classical business model, within the sustainable business model, and circular business model, right? Then we also hope to gain an understanding on the stock indices which shape robust business models in the circular economy. So when working in the new economy, when you're an actor of the new economy or the circular economy, it is fundamental that your business model should be robust, right? Because the environment as we know it today is highly dynamic, right? So you have to have a business model which is able to withstand these changes. And in order to shape such business models, right, certain stock indices can be used, right? So we are going to take a look at those as well. Having looked at our learning outcomes, so then let's move on to the introduction of Unit 5, right? So first it says, new concepts and ideological trends are operationalized through innovative technological solutions. That is true, right? because of innovative technological solutions, and because of the way they are operationalized, especially within the business context, maybe it's within the domestic context even, right? It has given rise to new concepts, like new concepts in consumption, new concepts in running business models, right? New concepts for doing business itself because of these new technologies, right? The way of doing work has changed, the way of distribution of resources has changed, right? A lot of changes are happening. And thanks to technological solutions, it is possible to implement global solutions whose potential is not yet being fully utilized. That is true, right? Because of these new innovations, because of the new technological solutions that have been introduced, um, we are in a position to implement globalized solutions uh, whose full potential has not been yet achieved, right? Uh, the full potential is yet to be achieved, or the full benefits of these technological solutions are yet to be received. Now, if we consider technologies such as, let's say, for instance, artificial intelligence, then we talk about robotics, we talk about virtual reality or augmented reality, we talk about quantum computing, right? So these technologies are still, we say, in an infant stage when it comes to achieving their full potential. There's so much more that can be done in terms of these technologies, which we are yet to witness, which we are yet to see, right? So therefore, it is believed that in the future, these technologies and these technological solutions will give birth to so many more expanded, or let's say, to a highly effective and efficient business environment, as well as expansion of their potential in terms of what they can achieve, right? This results not only from technological issues but from sociological ones, in the sense that new generations use these solutions to a greater extent than older ones. That is true, right? Uh, so when it comes to the not the two generations, the transcending of the several generations down the line, down the history, we know that it's obvious that the current generations are more well versed or more, let's say, familiarized with these new types of solutions. They show a tendency to embrace new technologies more, right? And now your generation is even more close to technology than my generation, right? So we talk about millennials, we talk about the Gen Z, right? Which is when it comes to Gen Z, we consider that they grew up with the technology and that they are more compatible with the technology. They are more likely to adopt new technologies, rather than if we consider a context where we compare ourselves with our parents. You see the generation gap, right? The amount of technological solutions that they are familiarized or they are comfortable in using, and also the amount that we are adapted to using, right? So therefore, there could be certain technological issues as well as sociological ones, which give rise to this underutilizedness of technologies, and which gives rise to the fact that there is a lot of potential more yet to be achieved via these technological solutions, right? Um, so the adoption of technology always doesn't happen in a uniform manner across generations. Some people might be more embracing of them than the others, like we just talked about now. So therefore, there's a long way for us to go in terms of achieving their fullest potential, in getting everyone to use these technologies, be comfortable adapted to it, comfortable in adapting to those things, right? So it's still in a limitless stage, right? The potential, I mean. Then the quality of life is now strongly correlated with access to digital technologies. That is very true, right? So what do you mean by the quality of life? Um, the quality of life in general terms we can understand as an individual's perception, or the way an individual perceives their stance or their position in life within the context of the value systems and the cultural context in which they live in comparison or in relation to their goals. අපි achieve කරගන්න උත්සාහ කරන, අපි ළඟා කරගන්න උත්සාහ කරන ඉලක්ක අරමුණු අපේ goals උත් එක්ක අපි වර්තමානයේ ජීවත් වන cultural system එක, value system එක සම්බන්ධයෙන් ගත් කල අපි දැනට ජීවිතේ ඉන්න තැන ගැන, අපේ life එකේ අපි ඉන්න position එක ගැන අපිට තියෙන යම් යම් perceptions තියෙනවානේ, අපි ඒක සංවේදනය කරන විදියක් තියෙනවා. ඒක තමයි in general අපි quality of life කියලා හඳුන්වන්නේ. දැන් ලංකාවේ මිනිස්සේ quality of life දකින විදියයි, ඩෙන්මාර්ක් වල මිනිස්සෙක් එයාගේ quality of life දකින විදියයි, ඔයාගෙම stage එකේ ඉන්න let's say USA වල or එහෙම නැත්නම් UK වල ඉන්න මිනිස්සේ එයාගේ quality of life perceive කරන විදියයි වෙනස්. Right? So technology plays a big role in this perception, or in creating this perception rather, right? Then for example, how technology can improve this quality of life if we understand in this way. Now if we take technologies that enable better communication, or which makes communication more convenient, right? Or communication faster. Sometimes in healthcare industry, these technologies can give better benefits to the patients, and the healthcare industry altogether has become more efficient. You no longer have to wait in queues, right? Waiting for to book an appointment or waiting to see the doctor, right? From the point of making a reservation to see a doctor, the entire process, right? From consultation, right? Diagnosis, we have in-house let's say telemedicine, right? If I say telemedicine, while being at your own home, you are able to see a doctor, and the doctor is able to diagnose you in some cases. And a lot of manual work has become reduced in the healthcare system altogether. Everything is systematized, and there are patient record keeping systems. There are the entire databases of hospitals are integrated, right? Within the, if we take a single hospital itself, right? Then even for buying medicines, you don't have to physically visit a pharmacy. So there are so many ways in which the industry has been revolutionized, and that has made life a lot easier for people in general, right? Then let's say access to information altogether has become convenient, right? Because of these World Wide Web, internet, and Web 3. Right? We talk about the evolution of it, Web 4.0 technologies, Web 3.0 technologies. Interactivity has become more, and also people have a better access to information, right? Then better opportunities for learning. So through all these things, what happens once quality of life improves? වගේ ජීවිතයක් කියන ගුණත්වය ඉහළ යනවා කියලා අපි කියනවා. මේ විදිහට තාක්ෂණය ඔස්සේ අපි එදිනෙදා අපිට අන්තර් සම්බන්ධ වෙන්න සිද්ධ වෙන යම් යම් ඒරියාස් වල සිද්ධ වෙන වෙනස්කම් නිසා, ඒවයි සිද්ධ වෙන වැඩි දියුණු වීම නිසා අපි කියනවා සමස්තයක් විදිහට පුද්ගලයන්ගේ ජීවිතයේ ගුණත්වය ඉහළ දැමීමට ඒක හේතු සාධක වෙනවා කියලා. Right? So in that sense, what you have to understand is the quality of life of a person who has better access to technology is different from a person who has very poor access to technology. The quality of life of a person who has a very poor access to technology, right? ඒක සරලයි, right? දැන් අපි European country එකක් සහ අපේ context එක ගත්තොත් ඒගොල්ලන්ට අපි කියනවා better access to technology තියෙනවා. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ internet penetration එක, mobile penetration, then their familiarity with new technologies, right? How much they use these new technologies in their government operations, things like that. If we consider their quality of life or their standard of life is higher than that of ours, right? So that is the point it has come down to. Moving forward, like I mentioned, the countries that have a higher level of digitalization have greater potential. Therefore, they can implement new social ideas faster and improve people's quality of life. That is clear, right? If a country has better opportunities for digitalization, then they have a better capability of implementing new social ideas to improve people's quality in life. So if technology adoption is in a very good stage, right, and if there's better access to technology for a particular country, then using those technologies they are able to do social innovations and certain concepts that would benefit the society, that would benefit the public in a government level. දැන් උදාහරණයක් විදිහට ලංකාවේ හිතන්නකෝ, if we are able to systematize this the government sector altogether, right, still we don't see a lot of technology penetration within the government service. If we are able to change that concept, imagine how much service we could do to the country. දැන් උදාහරණයකට රටේ මේ වෙනකොට විශාල ඉන්ධන අර්බුදයක් තියෙනවානේ. ඉතින් අපිට ටෙක්නොලොජි එක පාවිච්චි කරලා හැකියාවක් තියෙනවා නම් සිටිසන්ස්ලා හැමෝටම notify කරන්නනේ fuel availability එක මොන petrol shed එකේද මේක available වෙන්නේ, අපිට ඒක යම්කිසි ග්‍රාම සේවා කොට්ටාශයක් එහෙම නැත්නම් යම්කිසි ප්‍රදේශයක් යම්කිසි නගරයක් ආශ්‍රිත කරගෙන එහෙම නැත්නම් යම්කිසි ඉන්ධන පිරුම්හලක් ආශ්‍රිත කරගෙන අපිට notification එකක් දෙන්න පුළුවන් නම් live update වෙන විදිහේ dashboard එකක් අපිට පෙන්වන්න පුළුවන් නම් ඉන්ධන consume කරන අයට දැනට status එක මේකයි, වාට මේ petrol shed එකට ගියොත් මේ අවස්ථාවේ ඉන්ධන ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන්, මේ petrol sheds වල ඉන්ධන නැහැ, ඔය දේ real time අපිට customers ලට ජනතාවට ලබා දෙන්න පුළුවන්. That itself will help to improve their quality in life at least in a slight degree, right? එහෙනම් ඉන්ධන පිරුම්හල් පෝලිම් වල දැඩි ලෙස දැන් අපි දන්නේ නැතිකම නිසා ඔය පෝලිම් වල ඉන්නවනේ කියලානේ, even whether it's the gasoline gas queues or the these fuel queues or whatever. What happens when people are out there like striving to get them, their quality of life decreases, right? My feeling of my quality of life decreases. මගේ ජීවිතේ මම ඉන්න තැන ගැන මට තියෙන සංවේදනේ යම් කිසි විදියකින් අඩු වෙනවා නේ, යම් කිසි විදියකින් ඒක ඩැමේජ් වෙනවා. ඒ වගේ එදිනදා සිද්ධීන් වලට අපිට මුහුණ දෙන්න වෙනකොට. So if as a country we have better access to technology to alleviate it by some degree at least, then that country can improve people's quality of life by improving or implementing better social ideas or new social ideas, right? So with reference to this, I'll share with you this digital quality of life index, right? It is being continuously calculated. I will share with you the statistics for 2021. So I hope you all can see my screen here. Now this is the digital quality of life index, right? It's a global research which is conducted based on the quality of a digital well-being in 110 countries, and they say it constitutes to 90% of the world's population. And this study, what it does is it ranks these countries or indexes these countries by taking a look at 5 key pillars that they consider to define digital quality of life, right? Now, if you have a look at it, in 2021, the first place was achieved by Denmark, then Korea, and so on. So, what are the 5 pillars they consider for this? Internet affordability. They talk about internet quality. Then they talk about electronic infrastructure, electronic security, electronic government. So they attempt to measure the digital quality of life based on these 5 pillars, right? So you see here how the ranking of the countries has been shown, right? So if you can take individual, like pillar-wise statistics, if you point to each of these bars as well, right? So you see where each country lies in terms of digital quality of life, right? So if you click on these countries, you can view detailed statistics, where they are in terms of their ranking index, right? And whether it has improved or not, and how each band or each pillar has been affected and such. You can take a look, right? So see, Sri Lanka in this index in 2021 is in 88th place, right? 88th place. In Asia, if we take as an overall in Asia, we rank as 25th, that is out of 32 countries, right? So our rank has dropped down compared to 2020. So this is how, in terms of internet affordability, time to work to afford cheapest mobile internet, cheapest broadband internet, internet quality, electronic infrastructure, electronic security, electronic government. So each of these things have been listed out here, right? So you can even do comparisons to other countries if you wish to. So just something that I'm sharing for your extra knowledge that you can refer to and gain an idea about, right? So let's continue with the remainder of the lecture. Sorry. Yeah, I was here. Right. So then the second point in the slide says the potential in the concepts of the sharing economy, the circular economy, and the big data are very large. Now we talked about how technology plays a key role or a fundamental role in shaping the destiny of a country in terms of improving the quality of life of people, right? So it is obvious that if there are new technological innovations that can improve the quality of life, the productivity in business, then it means as an overall that country becomes successful. So this is where we come to the point of discussing about the concepts of sharing economy, the circular economy, and big data, right? So these concepts have all been introduced with the emergence of technologies and technological innovations, right? So sharing economy was not something that we talked about earlier within our traditional economics landscape. Maybe some of you are somewhat familiar with the concepts, but let's take a look at how this sharing economy can impact the day-to-day lives of people, and also what sort of impact it has made on the economy and what sort of potential it carries, and also the concept of circular economy and big data. So we are going to discuss in detail in the remainder of this lecture about each of these concepts. It allows you to create business solutions and is also related to the so-called new concepts of public management. So because of the emergence of these new technologies and new systems, countries are able to, let's say, business sector as an overall is able to create new business solutions, and also um, to give birth to new forms of public management, right? So there are new business models that have emerged as a result of these technologies, and also public management as we knew it has been greatly changed because of these technologies, and the way we serve the public, the way the public can access to different public services altogether have changed. So moving forward, the core element of the organization's operation is to ensure business continuity, which is no easy task. Now, if we shift our attention to the business context, right? If we gradually come down to the business context, right? The core element, as we know, of any business or any organization is to ensure the continuity, right? That is not an easy task to ensure longevity. Why? Especially because there are so many uncertainties in the environment, so many challenges that they have to face, and it is dynamic in a speed that has not existed some time back, right? The we say that there's an exponential growth in terms of technological changes that happen in the environment, right? So in such a stage, it is very tricky for a business to ensure continuity, to adapt to those changes, right? To come up with their counter strategies. It has to reinvent themselves sometimes. They have to keep up with the pace at which these changes occur, right? So it's not ensuring business continuity is not an easy task. I mean, take the context of Sri Lanka, for instance, right? How many challenges would a business have to face in the present context? Not only from the technological environment, as an overall, it's quite tough to ensure business continuity, and there's a lot of uncertainties ahead, right? So, in order to ensure this business continuity, this requires strong embeddedness in the decision-making processes, resulting from a properly constructed business model of the organization. So there has to be a proper integration, connection, embeddedness among different decision-making processes of an organization. And this can be helped or this can be done better if there are better suiting or properly suiting business models inherent for those organizations, right? So what is a business model in the sense, what is a business model? It's simply how an organization creates, delivers, or captures value, right? So how do they create, or in what context do they create, deliver, or capture value? Within different economic, social, or cultural contexts, right? Then the business model is becoming a key determinant of the success of today's organizations. That is true, right? Because a business model explains how your business is going to obtain money, how your business is going to serve the customer, how your business is going to create value for the customer and to deliver it to the customer, right? So it is one of the fundamental elements of a success of an organization. If you do not have a well defined business model, or if your business model does not suit the present pace at which the environment is changing, then you are at a risk of being unsuccessful. A business model that is mapping of tangible and intangible resources which create value in the short and long term ensures return at the level of the potential used for all actors gathered around the organization. right? So where a business model maps or a business model structures out, or a business model is able to clearly lay down uh, the types of tangible resources and intangible resources that a business contains, which have the potential to create value for the customers and to create value for the business, both within the short term and the long term, right? uh, has the ability to uh, provide returns at the level of the potential used for all actors gathered around the organization. Now, the potential that we use from all the different types of actors or different types of stakeholders that are associated with the organization, right? So, we are able to provide a return at the level of this potential that we use from these different types of actors or stakeholders by having the right business model that employs the resource base of the organization to create value. අපි organization එකට තියෙන ස්පෘශ්‍ය සහ අස්පෘශ්‍ය resources දෙකම භාවිතා කරලා අපි අගය එකතු කිරීමක් සිද්ධ කරනවා. ඒකට අපිට බිස්නස් මොඩල් එක උදව් කරනවා. අපේ බිස්නස් මොඩල් එකෙන් තමයි අපිට පෙන්වලා දෙන්නේ කොහොමද අපි මේ රිසෝසස් එකට එකතු කරලා මේක මැප් කරලා පෙන්වන්නේ අපේ බිස්නස් මොඩල් එකෙන් තමයි. කොහොමද අපි මේ රිසෝසස් එකට එකතු කරලා ඒක ආශ්‍රයෙන් යම්කිසි අගය එකතු කිරීමක් කරලා යම්කිසි අගය බෙදා හැරීමක් සිද්ධ කරන්නේ අපේ ඕගනයිසේෂන් එක associate වෙන අපේ organization එක වටේ ඉන්න stakeholders ලාට කියලා. Right? So that is the importance of business model. So having the right business model and the right definition to utilizing your resources in the effective way, and the right definition of how you are going to create value for the people around you is very important. That is why you have to have the right business model to suit the nature of the economy. So according to this interpretation, it is important to build a robust business model that will resist market changes while satisfying market expectations. So when we go through all these points which we have discussed, it is obvious that it is important for any organization to build a robust business model. What do you mean by a robustness? It is the ability to withstand conditions, to withstand changes, right? How tough you are as an organization to withstand the changes that happen in the environment. And this point explains that the business model should be developed in such a way that it can be subjected to the changes in the context of the dynamic environment, the dynamic market changes, and also that it can withstand or it can be subjected to the rapid changes which happen due to the emergence of new technologies and new solutions, right? So it's very important that an organization has a robust business model that can resist these changes while at the same time they achieve or satisfy their market expectations. It can be profit making, maybe expansion, maybe delivering value to the stakeholders. So while staying in the market and while achieving their market expectations, they have to be able to withstand the changes that happen within the marketplace, right? So moving on, to design business models, a scenario approach can be applied, which may allow for the minimization of the risk of failure of a new business undertaking, which is frequent in the digital economy. Now, when we create business model or design business models in the digital economy, right? It is suggested that businesses adopt a scenario-based approach or a scenario approach. So by adapting to a scenario-based approach when designing your business model, it is said that you can minimize the risk of failure that this new business model or the new business initiative or the new business undertaking may have to face in the future. So what is basically a scenario approach? What do you think is a scenario approach? Now, usually businesses conduct scenario analysis. We also sometimes refer to this as scenario analysis, right? What happens here is that uh, this technique or this approach provides a rational and a structured way to analyze the future of the business, right? Excuse me. Businesses can use this approach to examine different potential impacts of positive or negative events, right? That can cause certain impacts on their business. What will happen to our business if the conditions happen in the best way? What will happen to our business if the conditions go in the worst possible way? Two different scenarios, right? So when conducting scenario analysis, managers tend to map out what will happen and how are we going to be ready for it, right? So you are going, if you are creating a good business model, a robust business model, you as a business organization, it is advisable for you to adopt this kind of a scenario approach so that you can consider between different alternative business scenarios and see how they are going to work out, right? And how or what kind of impact they are going to have on your business, right? For example, what are the positive impacts on your business if there is a sudden slowdown in the economy, if the economic development stifles? Now, if the inflation runs unexpectedly high, like what has happened in Sri Lanka, so that is a worst case scenario. So you have to be able to uh, or you have to be prepared to face the worst case and best case scenarios both, right? That's how it works. Now, even farmers, for example, right, they use scenarios, right, to predict whether harvest will be good or bad depending on the weather, right? They do a scenario, although they don't do it consciously, they do it, right? It helps them to forecast their sales and also their future investment. What are they going to be like, right? Um, so moving forward, it is important to link the concept of business models with their robustness in the circular economy. Like we understood earlier about the concept of robustness, it is essential when it comes to the circular economy, which we will talk in a while. So, in a circular economy, we essentially talk about the full circle, right? From the cradle to grave, right? From the point of origin until it comes all the way back after consumption. A full cycle is what we consider. We will explain about it in detail in the coming slides. We talk about how an organization can be environmentally conscious while engaging in their business practices, right? So it's important to link the concept of business models with robustness within a circular economy too, right? We will explain it in detail as we move forward. So when all of these concepts are discussed, right? When all of these concepts are considered, the scientific problem of management is related to the determination of mechanisms that ensure robustness of business model. What mechanisms or what approaches, what methodologies will enable an organization to create a robust business model, or how to ensure that an organization has a robust business model, right? Using the circular economy to ensure survivability while at the same time achieving high performance, right? So while ensuring that you have a robust business model that can ensure survivability for your business, at the same time, how you achieve high performance. Survival is important as well as performance as a business organization. If it's a profit oriented organization, the primary objective is that you deliver profits or better value to your stakeholders, right? To your business. So while ensuring survivability, how do you do that? Right? So that is the scientific problem in management that we have to consider. That is the problem to which we need to find solutions to. That is the question which needs answering, and that is what we are going to try to get an understanding about in the coming slides, right? Then we talk about open data concepts and business models. Open data concepts and business model. So now we come to 5.2, a new subtopic. So here we hope to introduce to you a few new concepts, right? The development of database systems, both in terms of the assumptions of the big data and the open data concepts, creates conditions for the emergence of innovative business models. Now, with the emergence of these concepts such as open data, which we will understand in the coming slides, right? We will define what open data is, we will gain an understanding of it. And also these concepts such as big data, we will also gain an understanding about this in the coming slides. So based on the emergence of these kinds of technologies and concepts, right? It has been possible for businesses to introduce new types of business models or innovative business models which were not in existence earlier. Right? Now these subscription-based business models we talk about, for instance, right? And then we talk about peer-to-peer sharing types of business models, right? So these kinds of different business models, they have actually emerged as a result of these new concepts for analyzing data, right? Availability of data for everyone and the ability to analyze large quantities of data, right? As we talk about in big data. And when we talk about open data, we talk about how data is accessible by everyone. So these kinds of concepts have given birth to new types of business models, like I mentioned earlier. We will look at a few more examples in terms of business models as we proceed along the lecture. So our databases have improved because of these types of new concepts and technologies. Development of database has improved, as well as innovative business models have been created. Collecting a large amount of data, processing it, and using it to meet unrecognized customer needs is an area that has not provided opportunities to business ventures so far, right? Now, so far, collecting vast amounts of data and processing it to meet your customers' needs as a business, right, has not so far down the history provided opportunities to create business ventures. But in the present context, it has happened, right? Collecting large amounts of data, analyzing data, and using it to deliver better value to customers, to better experience, better service to customers, right? If an organization can do that, that itself has become a new business model, and that has given birth to new business ventures, right? We will talk about what kind of business ventures that we are talking about here as we proceed along the lecture. දැන් කාලෙකට ඉහත අපි දත්ත ගොඩක් එකතු කරලා ඒක ඇනලයිස් කරලා ඒක ප්‍රොසෙස් කරලා පාරිභෝගිකයන්ගේ අවශ්‍යතා සපුරාලියම් සඳහා ඒ ෆයින්ඩින්ග්ස් අපි භාවිතා කිරීම, එහෙම නැත්නම් ඒ ෆයින්ඩින්ග්ස් අපි කාට හෝ ලබා දීම කියන concept එක ගොඩක් successful business venture එකක්, එහෙම නැත්නම් business opportunity එකක් විදිහට consider වුණේ නැහැ, right? But now it has become so with the emergence of these concepts of big data, data analytics, right? Big data analytics and open data concepts that has actually happened. Then open data concepts also has facilitated this idea largely, right? Open databases offer this opportunity and reveal new and unconventional ways of creating strategic value. Now, open databases, we will talk about the open data concept as we move forward. So this open data and open databases that we are going to understand also has the ability of opportunity, or also has the ability of providing new opportunities um, to unconventional ways of creating value for customers, creating value for the society, right? Rather than we used to know some time back, right? So in recent years, the trends have emerged. Sorry, new trends have emerged, namely big data analytics, which are becoming popular all over the world. Maybe you also have heard of these concepts. Maybe you all have come across these concepts somewhere along your certain course modules. We hope to look into in detail regarding this concept today. So these concepts facilitate the analysis of entire databases in real time, right? Real time analysis is very important. That means analysis happens at the same time in which changes occur. Let's say in an organization where as sales occur, අපි හිතමුකෝ large scale organization එකක් කියලා, globally present organization එක, right? මේ organization එකේ sales හැම තත්පරයකම සිද්ධ වෙන්න පුළුවන්. යම් කිසි රටක අපේ organization එක යම් කිසි තැනක sale එකක් වෙනවා වෙන්න පුළුවන්, කොහේ හෝ තැනක, කොහේ හරි outlet එකක, right? So the advantage of big data is they can facilitate the analysis of these data that exists in large quantity in different formats across various platforms as and when these data change, right? And at the same time, as well as the development and use of machine algorithms for predictive modeling and decision making based on such models. So what is this machine algorithms, or we call them machine learning algorithms sometimes? What is it? It is a method by which these artificial intelligence systems, or this we call them machine learning systems. We give the ability to the machine to learn certain things based on certain instructions we provide to them. The machine itself has or the program or the system itself has a learning ability based on certain instructions that we have provided to them, to the system on beforehand. The machine gathers the ability to learn from those instructions and to do certain predictions, right? Generally predict the output of certain values based on certain input values that we provide to the system or the program, right? For instance, this linear regression, this you have also maybe used these concepts, learned these concepts also. So these regression models, logistic regressions that we talk about. So these are some sorts of predictions that we are doing based on certain input values, right? So now, what are examples for such predictive analytics? Now, think instances where you identify the customer in a, let's say, a business context like a telecommunication sector, right? In a telecommunication business, you first identify the customers that are likely to default payments and likely to abandon your service based on that pattern of defaulting of payments, right? They are most likely to abandon the service, or maybe they are using your service less and less as time passes. So we can use predictive analytics to identify such customers who are likely to abandon our business. We also can, in professional or business terminology, we talk it as business churn, right? Customers who lose your or leave your organization. We call it as customer churn. So these machine learning algorithms or machine algorithms, they have the ability of predicting this customer churn. So based on that, we as a business can send certain marketing campaigns, marketing messages to those customers who are most likely to leave. Or sometimes we can predict customers who are most likely to buy and send them marketing messages to promote or encourage their purchase decisions. And we can improve the customer service by planning appropriately. Right? So these recommendations that happen in Netflix based on the movies that you watch, right? and YouTube recommendations that you get. All these are machine learning algorithms, so machine algorithms, right? So these have been enabled with the emergence of the concepts of big data analytics, right? So predictive analytics aim to predict the future market development scenarios, the behavior of consumers and companies. Like I explained in the examples which I just stated, these predictive analytics, they have the ability to predict the future market development scenarios, right? Different market development scenarios. It provides knowledge of how to model these behaviors and influence formation of desirable attitudes. So based on these predictive analytics, a business has the ability of obtaining knowledge on how the different outcomes or the different behaviors uh, should be uh, modeled, or how they should be addressed, and how they can be influenced in order to give birth to certain desirable attitudes, certain desirable outcomes. If we say as a business, how are we going to model these different behaviors that we have detected, that we have predicted, right? What can we do to influence them as a company, right? So that is the advantage a business has from these big data analytics and this predictive analytics, right? අපිට ඒ වගේ තාක්ෂණයක් තියෙනවා නම් අපිට හැකියාව තියෙනවා යම් යම් scenarios predict කරන්න, right? යම් යම් අපි දෙන යම් කිසි සීමිත දත්ත ප්‍රමාණයක් භාවිතා කරලා අපිට machine එකට එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි program එකට, right, algorithm එකකට හැකියාව ලබා දෙන්න පුළුවන් business එකේ අනාගතය predict කරලා අපිට ඒකේ results ලබා දෙන්න විදිහට අපිට instruct කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක ගොඩක් වටිනවා managers-ලාට. අපි marketing campaigns ඉස්සරහට implement කරද්දී අපි ඉස්සරහට සිද්ධ කරන්න යන strategic changes වලට helpful කරගන්න පුළුවන් නේද? එතකොට අපිට අපේ strategies change කරන්න, අපේ certain decisions ගන්න business එකක් වශයෙන් ඒ වගේ results ගොඩක් helpful වෙනවා business එකකට. So next, big data solutions require different processing possibilities that are not present in traditional databases to process text, image, sound, spatial data, and so on. මේ අපි කියන big data solutions එහෙම නැත්නම් big data based analytics වලට, so they require different processing possibilities. They have to be able to process different types of data that we usually do not observe in traditional databases, right? Can be in the form of text, image, sound, and even spatial data, right? Now what is spatial data? අපි මොකක්කටද spatial data කියලා කියන්නේ? Now text, image, sound, they are data formats that you're familiar with, right? But what is spatial data? Spatial data is it is a type of data that directly or indirectly provides reference to a certain geographical area or a certain location. Sometimes this is also referred to as geospatial data or geographic information, right? So this spatial data also can be numerically represented, right? Using these GPS coordinate systems, for instance, you have heard of these, right? So geographic coordinate systems, using them, they can be expressed or they can be interpreted. For example, a common example of this kind of spatial data is maps, right? Road maps, where you can find points, lines, certain polygons that can represent cities, that can represent roads, certain boundaries, right? Provinces. So a road map is actually a visualization of geographic information. So these big data solutions that we talk about, they require different processing possibilities that are not present, or that are not present, or let's say that are not observed usually in the traditional databases, right? Now, in traditional databases, there are only different types of data formats that can process, and also the processing capability we say is considerably lower than these big data solutions, right? The processing capacity, processing capability is lower. So, but when it comes to big data solutions, a wide variety of data can be processed, and the processing capacity is very high. So next, figure 3.1 shows the model V, right? Model V, which refers to the big data concept introduced by Brock and Kahn. In 2017, Brock and Kahn has introduced this V model, which talks about 5 types of Vs pertaining to big data that we can use to understand the concept of big data, right? So let's take a look at that now.